Values-Based Recovery. I'm Dr. Brian Berman, again, licensed clinical psychologist working with substance use disorders as well as mental health disorders. As always is my colleague here, Dr. Joseph Trencali, medical doctor, medical director, as well as addictionologist. And today I want to talk to you a little bit about acceptance and commitment therapy. Okay, what acceptance and commitment therapy is, the kind of history behind it, and how it's gotten to be where it is today. Now, acceptance and commitment therapy is part of a new trend in CBT, in cognitive behavioral therapy, that we typically call the third wave of CBT. And I'll talk a little bit further about what the three waves are and where they come from. Let me just start by saying that acceptance and commitment therapy was developed by Stephen Hayes, who is a psychologist and researcher out of the University of Nevada, as well as he did it in conjunction with Kelly Wilson and Kirk Strazel. Okay? Now, as I said, ACT is considered the sort of third wave of CBT. The first wave of CBT really took place in the early 1900s. So you can think of your Watsons, your B.F. Skinners, these kinds of guys, right? Your behaviorists. And to these guys, psychology was only that which was observable and measurable. So if you could not observe it, you could not measure it, it was not part of psychology, it was not part of science, therefore it was not part of psychology. And at this time, the only thing that was observable and measurable was overt behavior. So you get your radical behaviors. Okay. Jump into the 1960s, and you get your second wave of CBT. This is where all of a sudden there's a big focus on information processing, probably because of the advent of the computers. Okay? And here some really clever researchers began to figure out how to observe and measure thought and cognition. So all of a sudden thought and cognition become observable, they become measurable, the covert becomes overt, therefore becomes part of science and part of psychology. And if you take the radical behaviorism of the first wave and combine it with this focus of information processing in the 1960s, you get the second wave of CBT, the one that we all know and love today. This is the one that's really spearheaded by the father of cognitive therapy, Aaron T. Beck, where from his point of view, therapy is about taking a look at bad or erroneous thoughts, changing those bad or erroneous thoughts to get rid of those bad, pesky emotions, and in doing so, hopefully altering maladaptive behaviors. Okay, jump into the mid-1990s, and you get the third wave of CBT begins to maybe get a bit of a foothold. And when I say the third wave of CBT, I mean your acceptance and commitment therapy, better known as ACT, your dialectical behavior therapy, also known as DBT, your mindfulness-based cognitive therapies, really anything with a mindfulness and mindfulness and acceptance-based component to it. And here in the third wave of CBT, things are a little bit different. We're not really interested in changing bad thoughts or changing bad emotions so that we can change behavior. Here we're more interested in altering how thoughts and feelings function and the context in which that function exists, which is why it is part of a philosophy called functional contextualism. So what this really means is that rather than changing thoughts, feelings, and sensations, we want to change our relationship, hopefully mindfully, with thoughts, feelings, and sensations, so that we have the psychological flexibility to make decisions based on values and who we want to be in life and committing to those values rather than committing to making decisions based on the stories our mind tell us and the emotions that we want to suppress. Okay? So this is the basic history behind acceptance and commitment therapy. Once again, thank you for watching Values-Based Recovery.